Here's something a lot of people discover way too late. Half the systems sold as whole house water softeners don't actually soften anything, they condition instead. Some coat the hardness minerals so they can't stick to your pipes, others restructure them into microscopic crystals that drift harmlessly through the plumbing, and a few use copper zinc media to pull chlorine, iron, or sulfur out before the water ever reaches a faucet. All three approaches work. They just solve completely different problems, and choosing the wrong one means paying for hardware that fixes something your water never had in the first place. So we're going through 7 of the best 3-stage systems, what each one is actually engineered for, and how to match it to what's coming out of your tap. Links to every one of them are sitting in the description. Let's dive in. The iSpring WCB32CKS is where I'd point most people on city water, and the reason is the second stage. It pairs granular carbon with KDF55, a copper-zinc alloy that grabs chlorine and heavy metals through an electrochemical reaction instead of just absorbing them like a sponge. That matters because it takes the chemical load off the carbon behind it, so the final coconut shell block can focus purely on taste and odor. The first housing is transparent, which sounds like a small detail until you realize you can walk past it and see exactly how loaded your sediment cartridge is instead of guessing at a calendar date. Capacity sits around 30,000 gallons, so you're swapping cartridges a couple times a year rather than annually, though replacements are cheap and the swap takes 10 minutes. One recommendation: run it behind a pressure regulator set around 60 psi and add a bypass loop while you're in there. Clear housings are more sensitive to pressure spikes than opaque ones, and that little loop lets you route water around the system in seconds if you ever need to. Now, if your house is bigger and that 3/4-inch inlet feels like a bottleneck, the Aquaboon 3-stage is the obvious step up. This thing runs 20 by 4.5-inch big blue housings on full 1-inch ports, and the difference is not subtle. Think about a typical weekday morning: 2 showers running upstairs, the dishwasher starting its cycle, somebody filling the kitchen sink, and a washing machine kicking into its fill. On a narrow system, that's when everything upstairs turns into a sad trickle. Here the water barely notices, because wider cartridges mean less friction and 100,000-gallon capacity means fewer interruptions. It also ships on a freestanding stainless frame with pressure gauges built in, which is the single most underrated feature in this entire category. 60 psi going in and 40 coming out tells you your filters are clogged with certainty, no guesswork required. Its third stage uses polyphosphate crystals to keep scale from bonding to surfaces, and that works beautifully on pipes, washing machines, and fixtures. Polyphosphate does its finest work at normal temperatures, so if your priority is protecting a boiler running extremely hot, the crystallization technology you'll see in a moment holds that line better. Flip everything I just said, and you get the Maxwater WHSC2. 10-inch housings, compact frame, and a footprint small enough to tuck into places the big blue units would laugh at. Sediment, granular carbon, carbon block, done. The honest way to think about this one is as a dedicated appliance filter rather than a whole home solution, and in that role, it's outstanding. A travel trailer, a weekend cabin, a garage utility sink, or a cold line feeding a kitchen faucet and an ice maker are exactly where it shines, and it'll replace the expensive proprietary fridge cartridge you keep forgetting to order. Push an entire 4-bathroom household through 10-inch carbon blocks and you'll feel the restriction in your shower head. So if that's your situation, size up. For everything smaller, it's the best value here by a comfortable margin. Here's the one that genuinely changed how I think about salt-free conditioning. The Kind Water Systems E3000 runs only 2 housings, but it stacks 3 technologies, and the star is template-assisted crystallization. Instead of trapping minerals, polymer beads covered in nucleation sites convert dissolved calcium into inert crystals that float straight through your plumbing without bonding to anything. Independent testing puts scale prevention above 99%, with no salt, no wastewater going down a drain, and no electricity. Paired with it is catalytic carbon rather than standard carbon, and that's the detail nobody talks about. Plenty of cities have switched from chlorine to chloramine, and ordinary carbon struggles badly with that bond, while catalytic carbon breaks it apart quickly. The conditioning media lasts over a decade before it needs attention. One thing to understand going in: your test strips will still read hard, because the calcium is still there, just neutralized. That's the technology working, not failing. Coming down several tiers in price, the DYLSDFQ takes the same anti-scale goal and solves it the economical way, with a polyphosphate cartridge sitting behind sediment and carbon block stages. For a 1 or 2 bathroom home, a long-term rental, or anyone who wants to protect a washing machine and a dishwasher without committing to a big blue setup, that's a smart trade. Clear housings let you eyeball media condition, connections are quick, and the chlorine smell disappears fast. Where you want to prepare in advance is the threading. There are two competing pipe thread standards worldwide, American NPT at 60 degrees with flat crests and British BSP at 55 degrees with rounded ones, and imported budget systems occasionally mix them. If you find yourself unwrapping enough thread tape to mummify a garden hose, that's your sign. Buy a stainless BSP to NPT adapter and anaerobic thread sealant ahead of time, and the install goes smoothly. Everything so far assumes city water, and well water is a completely different animal. That's the entire reason the Pro Aqua Elite Series Gen 2 exists. Its middle stage uses KDF85, a blend tuned specifically for groundwater chemistry, and what it does is close to alchemy. Dissolved iron enters clear, gets stripped of an electron, and oxidizes into solid particles inside the cartridge instead of on your bathroom tile. Hydrogen sulfide, the gas behind that rotten egg smell, converts into insoluble copper sulfide. Both get caught mechanically by the carbon block afterward. Oversized 1-inch ports keep flow at 15 gallons per minute, so irrigation zones and indoor showers can run together without collapsing pressure. Picture a rural property where laundry comes out streaked orange and toilet bowls stain within days. This is the fix. Stay disciplined about that first stage sediment cartridge though, since letting silt blanket the KDF media is what shortens its life. Rounding things out, the Pure Plus PP20BB combo goes after a problem the others treat as an afterthought: raw particle load. Its first stage is a pleated cartridge, folded accordion style like an automotive air filter, and the surface area difference against a standard spun cylinder is enormous. Water crosses it with far less friction, and debris collects on the outer pleats rather than packing deep into the core, which means you can unscrew the housing, hose the cartridge off in the driveway, and put it back in. That's free capacity that spun cartridges simply can't offer. It also sits on heavy industrial steel with multiple gauges, so when you're wrenching a 15-pound housing loose, the frame absorbs the torque instead of your copper lines. Behind it sit granular carbon and a coconut shell block, and with heavy chemical loads you'll refresh those a bit more often, which is a fair deal for that much sediment handling. So where does that leave you? For a compact space, a trailer, or a single dedicated line, Maxwater gets it done for very little. On typical city water with chlorine and heavy metal concerns, the iSpring hits the sweet spot between price and performance. If your home is large and demand peaks hard, the Aquaboon delivers massive flow with gauges that take the guesswork out, while Pure Plus is the pick when your water arrives full of sand, silt, or rust, and washable pleated filtration saves you real money. Fighting scale on a budget in a smaller home? DYLSDFQ handles it. Just show up with the right adapters. Well water with iron and sulfur belongs to Pro Aqua and its KDF85 media, no contest. And if your city runs chloramine and you want scale genuinely neutralized without sodium, the Kind E3000 is the top of this category. All the links are down in the description, updated and ready to go. If you're stuck between two of these, drop your water situation in the comments and I'll point you in the right direction.